Half of real estate agents sold either 1 or 0 homes this past year, according to a report by the Consumer Federation of America. We're going to go right into this report for a couple of minutes, and I'm going to highlight a few key things that I think are important for us to discuss, and then I'm going to share a few thoughts here shortly. So let's get into it. So January 2024, this literally just came out. So let's dig into it. I highlighted a few key points that we'll want to explore. So one of those is that there's 1.5 million agents that typically sell 5 to 6 million homes each year. I'm really glad that it opened with this particular point, because this is something I've been saying for years. High agent to sales ratio virtually guarantees that most agents cannot support themselves only from sales commission. So essentially, I know it's a catchy thing to say. I know it's a very positive thing to say and a very trendy thing to say. There's enough business for all of us. Well, statistically, there is not. And I understand that a lot of real estate coaches will say that, maybe well intentioned, maybe not well intentioned, in going to give them the benefit of the doubt that they're not just saying that to push their products or to push their services. But again, there is not enough business for all of us. That's just not a thing. That's not possible. Math doesn't work that way. But anyway, let's continue. So our first report, so they've done 3 reports. I'm going to link all 3 in the description. So this gives you a highlight of what their prognosis is, or what their summary was of each report. This is actually the 3rd report. So in their first report, they talked about the agent glut documented the capture of an estimated 25 to 30% of aggregate commission income by marginal agents selling 5 or fewer properties annually. So essentially, they're saying that of all the commission pie out there, the report found that it was being done by agents that were not necessarily doing a ton of volume. And for them, it was a lack of experience that was hurting the consumer. So let's continue. So including widespread agent incompetence and pressure to maintain 5 to 6% commissions. So that's where they go into hey, although we're getting this terrible service from these agents, and they're still asking for a huge amount, in their eyes, a huge amount of commission. So not because they wanted to, but more out of pressure, out of need, because they were only doing a couple of transactions and they were doing real estate full time. So they needed to have this commission be that high in order to actually make a living off of being an agent. Our second report began to explain why this agent glut exists. It focused attention on the ease of which almost anyone, 26 states, including DC, do not even require a high school degree, can obtain a real estate license. So essentially what this is telling us is that real estate licenses are a dime a dozen. They're very, very easy to get. Now, this is what their second report ended up saying. And this is a question that I posed on yesterday's video. Is real estate license too easy to get altogether? And the common answer in terms of agents already in the industry, the answer is yes. So, and according to the just really any Joe Schmo that you speak to out in the public, they're going to tell you the same thing. Now, this particular report, where this focus comes in, is this report shows that despite the glut, major firms continually advertise for and hire new agents, then often fail to adequately train and mentor these licensees. So that's essentially what they found in this particular report. There's some other information that we're going to get into, and then we're going to break it into, let's have a discussion. Now, one of the things that if I had a little bit more time, I'd be curious about their methodology. I understand that they went into 5 major real estate firms with in each of 4 diverse areas. So they went into Central PA, they went to Orlando, Minneapolis, Tucson. So for me, they went to 4 areas. So they had 5 major real estate firms, and they were down here. They did over 2,000 agents, and of those 2,000 agents, they drew a sample set of 100 agents. So it's a large sample set per se, but is it large enough? I'm no statistician. I don't know. But then to go down into 100 agents and get the results based off of those 100 agents, I'm not necessarily sure that particular thing is the best subset to pull from. But again, what I was saying earlier, Central PA, Florida, Minnesota, and Arizona, I wonder if the results would be different in an area like the DFW Metroplex. Now, I understand that there's a lot of folks coming in, but I also understand there's a lot of real estate agents. So I'd be curious to just understand those areas that have some high growth. I understand Orlando is one of those that has a ton of high growth, but I'd just be curious to see what that would look like. Again, overall, we're going to take this with a grain of salt in what the results that were found, which I myself am not that surprised that they found that half of the agents out there are selling one, if not zero, homes this past year, especially this past year in the land of lower inventory, in the land of higher interest rates. That was challenging, especially for newer agents, because as you're getting into the industry, you're almost banking and really focusing on buyers to subsidize your beginning years, because you're going to typically start working with buyers. As your skill set develops, then you start getting more listings and buyers become sellers and all that fun stuff. So I could see how that would be the case. So this explains a little bit more about their methodology, so we're not going to really explore that too much. We're going to go into the next section, if I can figure out how to do this. All right, so the following, All right, so the following observations can be made about the data above. So we're not going to look at the data above, but we're just going to look at their what they ended up finding. Nearly half of sampled agents, about 49%, reported no or only one sale that previous year, while only nearly 3/4, 70%, reported 5 or fewer sales. So essentially, 70% of agents are doing 4 to 5 transactions per year. So, it says 5. So if you're looking at a commission, depending on where you're at, if you're looking at a commission of $5,000, $7,000, $10,000 to be generous, if you're looking at a commission of $10,000 just to be, the national average is lower than that, but let's just, for the sake of the conversation, if we're saying that 70% of the agents out there are doing 5 sales on an average of $10,000 in commission, then you're looking at a $50,000 job on a 1099. That math doesn't work out, because there's still a lot of expenses as a real estate agent that you're incurring when it comes to gas, when it comes to marketing, when it comes to the split that you're also paying to the broker. 70% of agents out there are suffering. It's just a reality. Now, the rest of this goes into some additional sales some additional takeaways that we're going to kind of discuss here once we wrap up. All right, so this was interesting. The point that they made here was interesting. So I want to talk about this, that many large real estate firms continuously recruit agents, often not selectively. I think that we as agents, we know that. We understand that happens. Very few brokers are going to turn somebody at the door away, or turn a future agent away at the door. But I find it interesting, the points that they bring up. So they bring up a total, I believe, of 4 points. Let me make sure that's right. Yeah, they bring up a total of 4 points that we're going to just go right into. So there are several economic reasons many large brokerages continuously recruit new agents. Now, specifically speaking to new agents. One, because of the high turnover rate noted earlier. So we know that. We understand that in real estate, there's a high turnover rate. We understand that, because it's a sales job at the end of the day. And when you're looking just at the math, remember, there's over 1 million real estate agents out there, and you're looking at 5 to 6 million homes being sold per year. It's technically over 6, but since this did a report for last year, then it was under 6 at that point that are represented from an agent. The math just doesn't work out. So you have an influx of agents that are brand new to the industry, really trying to make a name for themselves. So yeah, of course, the turnover rate is going to be extremely high. So again, it's a sales job for one, but then you have such competition out there, right? And oftentimes the sales that end up happening for agents, those agents that end up doing 1 transaction or 2 transactions, those are sales from family and friends, right? So it didn't require an additional skill set of advertising or marketing themselves, building a personal brand to get that type of sale. So that family and friend was going to go with them anyway, regardless if they were good or bad. So of those 5 to 6 million homes that are being sold out there, they're not really going out to the highest and best or most qualified agent. Let's just say that. Now, the second related reason is that these new agents bring them new clients. So this is something that I thought was interesting, which is a strategy that I know some of my friends are actually pursuing right now. So a second, this is speaking to why are these brokerages, why is every brokerage going after new agents and really not qualifying, really not, it's essentially it's a numbers game, not really going beyond, again, you're not turning anybody around at the door. So here, the second related reason is that these new agents bring them new clients. So it's those transactions. So a broker, as an example, yeah, I'll bring on 10 new agents and I'll teach them how to tap into their sphere of influence. I'm going to get those transactions from these 10 agents. And if 8 of them fail, oh well, I am taking care of my turnover rate. So I'm going to keep those 2 agents. Hopefully they stay in the business long enough. But the other 8, I at least got 1 to 2 transactions out of them. Because again, from a broker perspective, you're looking at tapping into the relationships that those agents have, right? So that's why brokers will typically bring you in, and that's why they'll they'll tell you to write your list of people in your sphere of influence and call them immediately because they have to recoup their expenses. Rightly so. I'm not suggesting anything else, but something I was mentioning a couple of seconds ago was that some of my friends are actually going on this particular strategy, knowing that some of the agents that have been in the industry already, they're going out of business. So what they're encouraging them to do is, these are my broker friends, by the way. So, hey, I see that your real estate license is up for renewal. And I also see that you don't have your CEs completed. In some states, like Texas as an example, you can see that visibility on if their CEs are up to date and when their renewal status is up. So they're reaching out to them and saying, hey, I understand that you're up for renewal. I also see that you haven't done your continuing education that's required. Essentially, are you planning to go out of business? And oftentimes the answer is yes. So what they're doing is awesome. Well, hey, no problem. How about you just become a referral partner for me? So keep your license, hang your license with me. I'm not going to charge you all that much. In fact, I'm really not even going to charge you as long as you don't call me. And the 2 to 3 transactions that you would have done as part of it being an agent, just send them my way. I'll cut your referral fee. So I'm basically paying you for that book of business, right? So it's basically buying a book of business at a very, very huge discount. Essentially, it's just performance based. So I'm glad that this brought that point up because a lot of folks don't realize that that's happening and that's available. Especially again, if you're looking to go out of business because you can't make it, there's options for you to keep your license and then pay a referral fee on the relationships. Is essentially what you're doing. Now, third, new agents generate fee revenue for many companies. This is really the low-hanging fruit for a lot of companies. That's why you have over here, I'm glad that they broke down the commission split. So you have the commission splits where you have Berkshire Hathaway taking 40%, Century 21 50, Coldwell Banker 40, EXP 20, Keller Williams 35. And I understand the market centers are all different. I understand there's caps and all that fun stuff. So we're not going to worry too much about that. What we're going to worry about is the right-hand side, the typical monthly fees. This is really the low-hanging fruit. This is what a lot of us in the industry, we understand that that's what's happening. I'm going to bring in 100 agents. 85 of them are going to go away, but as long as they stay here with me long enough and are paying me that monthly fee, I at least recoup my advertising costs. So that's why brokers are not that selective when we're looking at the grand scheme of things. Now, the fourth reason is that since the majority of agents are independent contractors, not employees, real estate firms have limited liability for the actions of their agents, so understandably may not feel as strongly a strong responsibility for supervising their activities. So this one is really not true. Yes, there is limited liability per se, but at the end of the day, the person or the entity that gets the most flack is going to be the broker, and it's going to be the broker license. So that's why there's a huge responsibility on that particular license, because any action that that's taken to the agent, it's going to be a direct reflection on the broker, and they're the ones that are going to be getting dinged, they're going to get fined and all that fun stuff. Now, I unfortunately have too much experience in this particular regard. For those of you that know, I was a part of a real estate property management, and turns out that my business partner, Ashley Williams Creamer, she was defrauding people. So wherever she was taking her wherever she was taking her license, her book of business, well, those brokers, all 5 of them, were getting dinged, were getting fined, it's on their record thanks to her actions. So that's something that is, again, this one is I guess technically true, but they underplay it way too much. Now let's talk about something a little bit more broad. Let's talk about what does this actually mean, some takeaways that might be meaningful. So again, one, it's not that surprising. It does kind of like, okay, well, that's, I guess, I kind of expected that, but now I'm seeing the number, at least from this particular sample set of half of the agents out there are selling 1-0 transactions. It's not surprising, but I guess it does raise an eyebrow, because until you see it, then it becomes real. So when it comes to, let's talk about where the puck is going. There's one thing to be said about these types of reports. These are, again, it's a snapshot at a point in time, and this is more retroactive of what has happened. So now that we have this information, now that we have this data, now we can make some predictions and kind of see where the puck is going. One of the things that I think that really jolted a lot of people was the Burnett lawsuit. That's everything that we talked about this past year, even though that lawsuit was put into motion years prior. That property, that the Burnett and the folks, that situation started years ago. That lawsuit started years ago. So it wasn't until 2023 when it became real, because we're literally at a lawsuit, or we're literally in court trying to get this resolved. So I think that that jolted a lot of people and made people aware. And really, those people that are on their way out, it really encouraged them or solidified their decision. Yeah, I'm not going to renew my license moving forward. So I think that there are going to be fewer real estate agents. So the marginal real estate agents, or the agents that are just on the fringe, that might not be able to, that right at poverty level and maybe just barely making it, they're going to ultimately find another profession that doesn't require everything that comes with the sales job, right? So real estate schools are going to go out of business, and they're going to get consolidated. I think that with fewer agents, because again, that's where I think the puck is going, there's going to be fewer agents out there. I think that all of the companies that you see out there that are showing agents how to get into the business, or preparing them to take the test, their margins are going to be compressed, regardless if they're in person or online. But also, they're going to need to get bought up. They're going to need to be rolled up. Now, if you've been following real estate schools very closely, you know that Calibri is one of the larger players in the space. You understand that there's other schools out there that are just gobbling up smaller training companies and becoming behemoths. So very much what happens in other industries, whether it's the automotive industry, whether it's the I guess the cell phone industry. So you used to have all of these phone providers. Now you have 4. So same thing that happens with other industries, it's going to happen right here. And I think at this point, brokers are going to have to increase training, not out of the joy of their heart, but I think it's because out of necessity. Because if you have a brokerage that has a lot of buyer's agents that are not able to present their case on what their value is, those transactions are still going through the brokerage, but the commission compression is going to continue to happen, and the brokers aren't going to be making as much as they were in the past, of course, but also the agents as well. So while me as a broker, as an example, I'm not a broker, by the way, but if you're a broker, you're still bringing in those 100 people, those 100 agents. You're still trying to extrapolate as many transactions from them, but you're expecting a certain margin from those transactions, and that margin's just not going to be there. So you still have the same amount of folks. So you're going to need to really train them and really help them get and capture as much money as possible from each transaction. I think there's going to be more cloud-based models. Same thing that I just mentioned on the real estate school. It's going to happen with real estate brokerages. Brokerages right now are either going out of business, getting bought up, getting rolled up, or translating into online status, or trying to find a way to go from the brick and mortar to the online. So there's obviously that's why EXP grew so quickly. Real, LPT, and there's Epic. Like there's 20, 30 different online brokerages now, where you rewind back 10 years ago, there's a handful, with EXP leading the way, right? And then I think the top agents are going to continue being the top agents, and they're going to go into, if they're closing 100 transactions, they're going to quickly be able to close 150, 200. Now, I don't think they're going to be able to command the same commission or the same margin per se, but at the end of the day, they're going to be able to beat out their previous sales record by the amount of transactions. So they're going to inherit all these transactions from the agents that are no longer in business. They're going to bring on the additional transactions to compensate for the commission compression that's happening. But I want to hear what you have to say. Let me know in the comments section down below. Were you surprised at this particular stat? Or was it just another day that ends with Y? But as always, share this video with an agent that needs to see this. Make sure to subscribe. I'll talk to you soon.